and welcome to the Big Apple School Podcast, the weekly English show where we speak about everything under the sun. The major goal of this show is to help you improve your English and, of course, learn something new. My name's Katja, I'm a host, and today with me...
I'm Gary.
And...
I'm Natalie.
And
Maria.
See, we have quite a big party again. Woohoo, 4 people. So I have, just as I always do, a little bit of a request to our listeners. So please, we're doing our best to be as useful to you as possible, and we would love to get some feedback about it. So subscribe to our pages on Apple, Yandex, Google, VK, or any other platform where you listen to our podcast, and let us know what you think. Tell us what you like or dislike about our show. What would you like to be different? What topics would you like us to talk about? We're always constantly looking for new ideas because we want to be interesting to you, dear listeners. So, and I want to ask you guys, how is your summer going? Can you believe it's half of it is gone?
Oh no!
Oh, don't
mention that, please.
The cup is already half empty for.
Oh.
You're like, it was a good day until you said that, Katja.
That's right. We barely had acknowledged that the cup was half full, and it's already half empty.
So, what has been the brightest event of this first half of the summer?
And silence.
Does that suppose there was more than one bright event?
The plural, yeah.
Right. Okay. So that gives a choice. Let's see. Bright events.
Okay, singular. What was the brightest event?
Well, they are yet to come.
Yeah.
Okay, what are your plans for the rest of the summer?
So I have a birthday in August. It's pretty soon. So, yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. So
what are you planning?
It's going to be fun. Oh, I don't know really. So usually I just go somewhere with my friends. But like last year I went to St. Petersburg all alone. And it was kind of fun. So maybe I will do something like that this year too. But I don't know yet, really.
I like the spontaneous, vibe that your answer gives.
Yeah.
Wait, what August? I mean, what's the date?
Oh, the 7th.
The 7th. Okay, so the beginning of August. Perfect. Yeah. Gary, Masha, any plans for the rest of the summer?
Maybe to get some rest.
Oh,
to go on vacation. Yeah.
Okay, and I
no
agree
definite
with that.
plans yet, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Indefinite.
Okay.
Very indefinite.
We will be spontaneous. I will spontaneously lie on my sofa.
Yes, right.
Then I will spontaneously change the position on my sofa.
Yes, and then I will spontaneously eat something instead of something else.
That's extreme, really.
Man, I'd hold back on all of that. That could get out of hand anytime.
So, and is going to museums in the picture? You're like, what?
We can consider this idea, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Natalie just looked very surprised. And, and that's funny because today we are having a topic of art. And, when I suggested going to a museum, her face suggested that would not be, in the picture, not in a plan. So wait,
we are in Novosibirsk.
Yeah.
I mean, there are museums in Novosibirsk.
Have you ever been to any of those?
I've been to the art museum, the Katerina Gallery. I have been there.
So, and what do you think?
Well,
it exists.
It was good. Who I do like there and has a nice representation is our famous, what is the fellow's name? Our Altai.
I think
Rerich.
Rerich.
It seemed to me that Gary was trying to master his skill of using euphemisms. How do I say something about Novosibirsk museums without sounding rude?
No, I was trying to remember Rerich.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
One of those
that's exactly
memory tests. No, really, it was. Yes.
All right,
pure and simple.
So, what in general is your relationship with art? What role does art play in your life? Because you looked all very interesting when I mentioned museums.
No, I mean, we've just talked about this with Masha, and we should understand first what art is.
Yeah, let's define.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's define it first.
What we are going to include.
Let's make it even more difficult. Why not complicate the problem? Too simple. Let's complicate
I mean, because
it. Yeah.
everything can be art. Yeah, I mean, like, life can be art. Whoa.
Oh, wow, that's deep.
I know.
So she's done it.
Yeesh.
Have you been meditating in the morning or what?
Right, yes. Wow.
Oh,
I'm going to take that coffee away from you.
probably should.
That's right.
Well,
I'm going to
guess
pour that out on the table, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
Lest that happen anymore. Yes, anything like that. No.
so. Shall include
Okay.
music. Music is art. Yep.
It definitely is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paintings,
Of course.
sculpture,
Yeah.
architecture. What else? Graffiti. I would include as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's actually, yeah, I know that some people find it very debatable whether to
Yep.
include graffiti, but also I would say that if we do that, that would be in the subcategory of painting,
Like
in a way.
visual arts. Yeah.
Visual
Okay.
arts, yeah.
Theater,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cinema,
definitely. Yeah,
Cinema.
cinema.
fashion.
Yeah, actually, I've Googled that before.
photo.
And there are like 7 kinds of art, like kind of aspects of art. But I think we've mentioned all of them before.
Photography. Yeah.
So- yes, exactly.
An interesting question then. Tattoos, is it a type of art?
Visual art.
It's kind of like paintings. Yeah, I think it's visual art. Yeah.
It's just the canvas is different, you know.
That's also deep, you know.
Look at Gary, who's so skeptical.
No, now I'm trying to just not say anything.
And Gary sits, you know, he's closer to the door than everybody else. He's like, okay, I'm thinking of
just
the
gonna
way
leave.
out of
If you
here.
are going to discuss this, I'm out. Yeah.
So, okay, so let's first talk about art in your life in general, and then we're going to narrow it down. So,
I think art
mean-
is like, yeah, I think
Can you
it's coffee affecting me a lot.
specify art in our life, like yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I think, I mean, for all human beings, I think art and beauty. So it's like one of the most important kind of signs of like human nature and human civilization, I think, in general. So, and I think without art, without sense of beauty, like people would not be as much people.
Are you connecting art with beauty?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
art can be
Of
ugly.
course,
can
of course. I know. But yeah, I still connect it with beauty,
Uh-huh.
definitely.
It? Okay.
Gary, what about you and art?
Me and art go back a long way. Right? Yes. No. That's
To the beginning of,
right. To the beginning of
to
art.
the very beginning.
No, I appreciate art. I mean, art, if we're going to be narrower. Right?
So,
I know
okay.
we don't want to be narrower, but
So let's then actually do narrow it down to paintings and sculpture, like so
Traditional
let's-
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's talk about that today, and then leave architecture and other aspects till
For
the
the
next
next time.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I think we can't just have one episode on art. I think it demands
yeah.
more episodes. Like we had 2 on transport, and see, all of them are with Gary. Transport part 1, transport part 2, art part 1. You're stuck with us, Gary.
oh wow. Okay.
No matter how much you want to leave.
I'm excited. I'm getting excited. I'm
So-
trying to get excited. I'm excited.
I'm doing my best to try to get excited.
Right.
So, paintings and sculptures. So, what role do they play in your life?
I like paintings a lot. I mean, like a lot.
Yeah, well, for example, I don't have any art pieces at home. And I don't even know if I would like to, because maybe for me, art, if we speak about paintings and sculptures, it's something that you enjoy, that I would like to enjoy in a museum, art gallery, or something like this. I mean, not constantly, not all the time, but sometimes. I have a wish, I have a desire to enjoy it, to like to immerse myself into this, and then I go to museum.
Do you often go to museums in general? So, when you travel, do you do that? Or
Of course.
Yeah.
I do
Only when
that.
I travel.
I do that. Definitely. That's
can you think of any museum that maybe struck you most? The one that was.
I've got some favorites.
You've got some favorites. I
Yeah.
guess Novosibirsk Art Gallery is not one of them, is it?
And I'm glad there's an art gallery here. And I have nothing bad to say about the.
I wish we had a video podcast right now because Gary's face is just.
It's fine. I mean, I should go back again and look again and appreciate it more. But anyway, one museum I really like is the Pushkin State Museum of European art. Okay,
Is it in
It's in Moscow.
Moscow? Okay.
And
Because I was having my doubts about Moscow/St. Petersburg.
Yeah, it's in Moscow. And it has, it's not the biggest museum in the world, but it's it's in an old building, and it's got this incredible staircase that goes from the first floor to the third floor with really high ceilings. And so it's got this staircase that's all red carpet, and it goes just up and up and up and up and up. And when you go up and up and up and up, you get to an amazing room that has Picassos in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and really famous Picassos. And it's got a harlequin, you know, a clown, and famous, and a blue, some kid on a beach ball, and some guy looking at him, you know, and it's a famous. But because the building's old and has character itself, and you have to kind of make this trek up these stairs. I don't think there's an elevator even there. It's worth the trip up the stairs, and then there's all kinds of very selected rock and other things there that are very lovely.
Is it possible to go through and see all the exhibits of this museum in one day? Because sometimes,
yes, definitely, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I've never been there, so
yeah, it's not big, and this is not There's another Pushkin that's it's trying to be a universal museum, and that I don't care for, but because it's got a lot of, I don't want to run down that museum. Anyway, it's fine, but that I wouldn't recommend that. But this I really like, and I can make another one, but that's probably enough for me right now.
all right.
Okay.
Because there are museums like the Hermitage where you can't, see everything within a day, even within 2 days. They say that if you stop in front of every single exhibit and spend 1 minute looking at it, you'll have to spend 9 years.
Yeah.
Just because there are so many things over there.
Oh my God.
So yeah.
Really?
So what about you ladies? Have you had any spectacular maybe museum visits or some museum that struck you to the core?
Well, maybe no. I guess that the last museum I visited was the Tretyakov Gallery in Moscow, which I visited last August. I think it was the last time I visited a museum. It's all right. It's small and cozy, so you can go around within like 3 hours. It's enough. Yep.
The Tretyakov Gallery.
Yep. I mean, the first part of it, because as far as I know, there are two departments: the one with the modern art, and the traditional one. So I'm speaking about the first.
Yeah. Okay.
The classical.
Yeah, because I remember being there. I spent like 5.5 hours there, and I didn't even look at the icons. So
it was my second time there, so maybe that's why.
May I share an interesting fact about Tretyakov Gallery? Did you know that during the Second World War, most of the exhibits and most of the paintings were moved and kept at our Novosibirsk Opera and Ballet Theatre?
Yeah, I heard
because they
about
didn't
this,
want, to lose them in case Nazis took over Moscow. So, and that's why they moved them here to Novosibirsk, and the theatre, every single day, they got 1 wagon of coal to keep, the temperature warm enough for the paintings not to crack. Since paintings are very delicate, they need a certain temperature, certain humidity. So that's why they would hang, the sheets, soaked sheets, so the humidity would be enough for the paintings. And people, and you can imagine the war times, they didn't have much, right? They didn't have much food. They didn't have much of anything. So people would bring oil, all the oil they had, just, so that they would cover the painting so they would not crack. So thanks to Novosibirsk, most of the paintings survived.
Yeah, that's how much people appreciate art.
And they did the same thing with the Hermitage exhibits and the paintings from there in Omsk. So it was Siberia who saved the art.
Whoa. Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Well done.
Novosibirsk.
So, yes.
Siberians.
Yes.
That's what we do. Save the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically. Yeah. And what about, let's say, museums in other countries? Have you been to museums in any other country?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like every country. Okay, I think you have something to say.
I have, yeah. Mostly in other countries. But
Yeah, same.
In the U.S., yeah, I've been to a number of them. There's even a very good, rather good art museum in my hometown of Cleveland. It's kind of a universal art museum, and for its small scale, it's really quite good. And but a favorite in the United States, or maybe two favorites quickly, there's a museum called the Morgan, which is J.P. Morgan's private house.
Where is it?
It's on Lexington Avenue. It's in New York City. It's in Manhattan. It's in the museum area roughly. I don't think it's on Fifth Avenue. Anyway, It was J.P. Morgan was a banker, famous banker, and art collector.
So it's his private collection.
And book collector.
Oh, well, now you're talking.
Yeah, and so he's got this incredible library. A library with a Gutenberg Bible and...
No, wait.
with a real... Yeah.
The original, the Bible.
Well, there's many. It was a movable type, and so they printed many.
Wow.
Many, but not many, because it was still slow. It still.
Well,
had
yeah,
to
it's
be
not
like
that you can
page by
find, a
page.
million copies in the world. Of course, it's rare.
I think it's in the maybe, I don't know how many hundreds, maybe.
But it's rare.
Maybe, yeah, there's got to be 100. Anyway, but a very beautiful Gutenberg Bible and all kinds of other things, and then he's got another room that has some like Dutch masters in it, and that are very amazing also. And that's one, and the other is the Whitney Museum of American Art, which is also, it's down in kind of Midtown, and
It is also New York.
also Manhattan, yeah. And it's pretty amazing. It's all, it's all American art, but a lot of it is modern art, and very wonderful. Of course, there's other museums there. But
Wow.
anyway, yeah. So
Natalie, you must have been to the Louvre, haven't you?
Actually, no, I haven't. Actually, I haven't been to Paris,
well, that's part of the reason. I'm here to make things simpler, not like you that wants to make things. What is art anyway? Huh? Right. So, right. Well, what is it? I mean, and what are those things made up of?
Because I was
Atoms?
like,
or what?
I was like, well, Natalie majored in French,
Yeah, I've been to France.
You've been to France.
Yeah, but not Paris.
Not to Paris?
Yeah, it's so basic. Actually,
Too mainstream.
Man.
That's actually what I thought.
I don't want to point out a basic error here. But this is like...
Okay.
What, did you float in on a boat and just stay close to the shore or something? Was that it?
Yeah,
touch your foot onto this. I'm giving Natalie a very hard time. Sorry.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, yeah, basically,
Right, now she's got to actually explain the facts here.
well, okay. So yeah, I was saying that I went to France, but I went to the south of France. So I didn't. Actually, it was my decision. So I didn't want to go to Paris because, I majored in French and English, obviously, but we spoke so much about Paris. We spoke so much about French architecture, literature, and all this stuff. So I was so sick of it, and I just didn't want to go to Paris. It was like, ugh, I'm tired of it.
Understandable.
Yeah.
5 years of reading about Paris, listening about Paris, talking about Paris.
Yeah.
Everyone would have got a little
why
bit.
bother? Yeah, that's right.
My mother to see
Like
it, actually.
no reason. Yeah, right. That's right.
Yeah.
Probably all talk. You know what I mean? That's right. That's right.
Actually, since I've seen your reaction to Novosibirsk Art Gallery, Gary.
Don't hold that against. I don't want.
But this is one thing that is kind of annoying to me. I mean, we live in the third biggest city of the country. Why is there no art scene? I mean, St. Petersburg, Moscow, they have, a lot of exhibits. They have genuine paintings, the originals. We have nothing. So even, they don't even bring anything here. I understand.
They should. Yeah, they should do. They should have exhibitions of all these wonderful things.
Even if they bring one original of something, I'm pretty sure people would love to see it. Because I have no idea what they think. Because people here love art. We can see, that in the amount of theaters we have, concert halls. And sometimes, trust me, I want to buy tickets to, opera or ballet, but they're not always available. So people love art. They want to have more of that, but...
Yeah. Bad on the center. I'm going to blame the center.
Yeah, that's what we should do.
Moscow. Well, it is their fault. Sure, they just don't give the money for it. That's all.
I mean, I just sometimes wish we had a better art scene in terms of paintings.
Yeah, it could be.
We only have the locals. We have nothing from other cities, nothing of the, famous Russian artists. So
except Rerich.
Right. Except him, yes.
Yeah.
Well, not him, except the family, I would say, because he was not the only one who was painting. It was the whole family of painters.
Really?
The father, the son.
The father, the son. And then, if I'm not mistaken, his wife was also helping and painting. Yeah, they have paintings of Altai mountains, which they got inspired by a lot. So, yeah, it was a very talented family, I should say, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a reason why we don't have any paintings, really.
That's a good question, yeah.
Yeah, like, why? Seriously. I mean, there is demand, so there must be some.
Yeah, well, it takes, it could easily be done. I'm sure that the Moscow and St. Petersburg museums are sharing their wealth with New York and Paris and all of these lovely places, and just not here because, anyway.
Yeah. So when...
Жалко.
Very.
As we say.
Very жалко.
Very жалко.
Very жалко.
So since we're talking about paintings, why don't we talk about the styles, or let's say the movements maybe? Because this is something that, we hear a lot, we hear impressionism here, cubism there, but what is the difference between all those? So why don't we go through at least the most widespread or most talked about not genres, no, but styles. So which one can we start with?
Classicism, probably.
So how would we describe it? So what's common
maybe neoclassicism. How about that? So that's the revival of classicism. Classicism is what the Greek and Roman models.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. And then in 17th or 18th century, they started to...
Right. There was a revival of that. And it was, Napoleon was a big neoclassicist and wanted a classical, like the Roman Empire. He wanted to have a classical type of thing, and so that's very traditional with sculpture look and ordinary proportions and everything representational.
So what were the typical motives of neoclassicism then?
So I think it's about Bible, right? But not necessarily.
Biblical themes maybe, yeah. But the neoclassicism was looking back to Greece and Rome and the forms and
the myths,
all the myths and
the body, right?
And the body aspect of it too, for sure. Yeah.
Can you think of any representatives
of neoclassicism? David, an artist named David, looks like David, but. Yes.
All right, so classicism.
As Natalie would know from her 4 years of learning about Paris, it's pronounced not David, but David.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Anyway, he's a neoclassicist.
Okay, so what other styles can we think of? So then, I think
Well,
that
and then it went to the romanticism, right? And that was, a lot of emotion, and as opposed to the kind of correct forms and all of that. Now we've got all kinds of storms, and we've got
Nature as well.
Yeah, in other words, the truth is in the heart, and it's all in the feeling, and rather than sort of the strict representation of
Structure,
things exactly as they are.
okay. Can you think of any representatives?
Of romanticism. Delacroix.
All right.
Delacroix and Turner, English painter named Turner. And he had storms at sea type of thing. And
Can we say that Ayvazovsky then would be the same?
I think, yeah.
Because he
Yeah,
depicted, the sea, the waves, and it was like a very...
It's all about emotions, about this
Okay.
kind of
yeah, I
stuff.
mean, Pushkin, and obviously he's in words, but he's a romantic, and it was pan-European. I just don't know my Russian art well enough, unfortunately. Maybe Vereshchagin, I don't know. Is that neoclassic?
I try to not look at you because I do
Wow.
not know much about Russian art. I'm sorry. Shame on me. But I don't.
I'm just not good at categorizing.
Well, fair enough. Yeah.
For me, it's just whether I like it or not, whether it appeals or it does not. So I just keep forgetting all the types and styles.
I think when it comes to styles, it's very convenient with the Renaissance. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
because it's a huge time period. You're like, amazing, Renaissance.
Yeah.
Italy, Renaissance. Very convenient.
yeah, dark
yeah.
colors, sad people, Renaissance.
I would even, have you seen one of those, not a pamphlet, but like a post in different social media, like how to differentiate different artists? Like, do people look like they're suffering and they're all, pale
I
and
find
thin,
them
just T-shirt?
extremely helpful
Yes,
and funny.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was it like? If there are a lot of not very thin women, like very curvy women, it's,
Like Rubens.
it's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and there were like tips like that on how to differentiate between different artists. Yeah.
Or even how to understand modern art, like cubism or some other type of ism.
I actually have a question whether it's possible to understand it, but we're going to get to it a little bit later, just a tiny bit later. So then we have, I think one of the most popular maybe is impressionism.
Oh,
so
yeah, everybody likes it.
Right.
everybody does.
Kind
So
of an extension
basic.
of romanticism. It just keeps going. But gets more
So what's the idea of impressionism?
To paint impressions, how you see things. Unlike classicism again, so it's not about structure, it's not about some kind of, plots from different myths or Bible or anything like that. It's all about your impressions, again, of nature, of people. So again, they paint with this kind of
So it's
spots.
about light and
Yeah.
just how things strike the eye, just how things look. Right.
Yeah.
It's,
But with impressionism, the brush strokes are
Yeah.
easily, distinguishable, so you could see, that.
Yeah.
right.
So who are the representatives?
Monet, obviously.
Monet, Cézanne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Renoir.
Yeah.
Degas.
Degas, yeah.
So I
French
think.
people.
Yeah. French.
Well, I mean,
All
let's
those French
see.
Yeah. Mostly French people.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about
Yes.
But I mean,
French
there is-
people, it's art. Yeah.
There is a reason for that, because at that time, for art to be accepted and for it to become popular and sellable, it all had to go through the French Academy of Art.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the authority at the time. So, and that's why, if a painting of a certain artist had never been, showed at the exhibitions of the French Academy of Art, that would not be known. The person would not become famous. So that's why it was a life goal of a lot of people at that time. So to be presented, to be exhibited. So at the French, Paris.
Right.
I
So
think.
Paris was
Yeah.
the capital of the
Yeah,
art
so-
world, and you
Yeah.
had to be accepted there.
And I have a feeling that it was just a little bit easier for the Parisians to be,
Obviously.
exhibited in Paris rather than, for people from other countries who had to
Yeah.
somehow find the connections you know, find the people who would, you know, help them.
You know, that's so funny. Like when we speak about art, we only speak about European art.
That's actually, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sure.
And I think this is the case for a lot of people and for a lot of countries. When we talk about art, we immediately think about European art. For some reason, this is the art that is the most popular and the most known. Because let's say if I ask you, do you know any famous American artists?
Not so many, probably. I mean, you do probably.
Yeah, I sort of do.
Well,
Yeah.
come on.
But it's still American and European is kind of the same thing, right? It's the same.
But I mean, you know them because you grew up in the US. So let's say I visited so many museums in the US and I've seen the paintings, but I don't remember. So, you know, but at the same time, if you ask people like, can you name artists, just any artists that come to your mind, everyone's going to say Van Gogh, Dali,
Exactly.
Monet, Renoir. So yeah, and I'm not speaking about other, you know, countries. Let's say, do we know anything about, let's say, Tunisian art,
Yeah.
Nigerian art,
Asian art. I mean,
Oh, that's a
Exactly.
whole new world. Let's say, yeah. So, should we learn about this other?
I think, yeah. Obviously.
It's not like we should, but if we want to,
Natalie,
if
thinks
we are
should.
interested.
Well,
So
I
I'm
mean,
gonna do it because Natalie. Right, yes, that changed my mind, and she had so much conviction in her voice too. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
but let's say at school.
definitely.
So
go ahead and learn about that.
let's say
It's
at
okay.
school when we had the classes of history of art.
Yeah.
So we never learned about, you know, other countries. We never learned about
Right,
Asian
it's-
art.
it's-
Why?
That's so strange because, I mean, Chinese people actually invented watercolor and all this stuff.
So when I had 3 years of history of art at school, so when I was a teen, so we were never taught about that.
Yeah, well, it's
Just a little bit, maybe. Just
our tradition.
bit.
you know,
Maybe it's because for us it's more relatable. I mean, European art, we can relate
might
to
be.
it easier,
Okay.
it's easy to
can
understand,
understand it.
probably. Yeah.
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 more comprehensible.
yeah, it's more. I mean, it gives us more information. I mean, it connects more to our
Prior
Because of the
experience.
values shared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the shared values. Yeah.
Also things that we are used to seeing,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's in a big universal museum, right? There's gigantic sections of every kind of art, you know, I mean, down to Pacific Island art and things that you don't even, and of course, African art and all kinds of, and there's very amazing things there. But if you go to a universal museum, the problem is there's so much there. It's like the Hermitage, the Hermitage that you just, wow. I mean, what are you going to do? You know?
Well, I had when I went to the what's it called? Well, it's Boston Museum of Art. So, but it has a certain name that I don't remember. So I took 3 trips there, different days, different months. But every time I only went through a certain section. So, for example, okay, today I'm looking at European art. So this century.
Yeah.
So next time I remember I visited Egyptian art, like, you know, from ancient Egypt. So I didn't even look at other parts of the museum just because I would understand that I would not remember a single thing.
Right,
That's true.
yeah.
It would be too much. I would be overwhelmed.
Yeah, I did that when I had opportunity. I went to London and I went to the British Museum. And of all things, I decided that I was going to concentrate in one area. And guess what that area was?
European art.
No.
Russian?
No.
Of course.
Natalie, you want to
French art.
French art.
Really?
Yes, okay. And a surprise move. French art. Yes. No. Assyria.
Yes, no.
Assyria.
Oh.
Why?
Well, because they actually have the real artifact like gates from, you know, the Assyrian kings, because it's the British Museum and they just take things, you know. That's a nice gate, you know, that's
You know what I love about British
15 meters.
museums?
Yeah. They're free.
They are.
Yeah. Yes.
Boston Museum,
That's
like
true.
Museum of
Oh,
Art,
wow.
$25.
Yeah, same thing.
Most
with
of
the
the
Met. Yeah.
most of the places are like
$25.
within the $20-$30 range. So I don't know about well, I guess in Europe they're not free, are they?
I mean, in Greece, they are not. So it's like about 10 or 15 euros, something like that. So
That's reasonable.
But let's say, $20, $25.
Yeah, well, the Met, the
too.
Metropolitan in New York, it used to be free, and you could make a contribution. There was a suggested
Well,
contribution.
yeah, there always is.
But then they pulled that, and then the last time I went there, it was $25, which was like,
Yeah.
ow.
yeah, it's painful.
Yeah.
British museums, they do have this, the boxes where you can donate money, and support. But
Yeah.
still, it's
The state, the
Yeah.
government is.
because I remember I visited the National Gallery, I think 6 times. I saw every single painting in there. Like, I spent a reasonable amount of time, being there at that museum because I could. Well, I can't say I could afford it, because it's free. So yeah, I was given this opportunity.
Which brings me to a question. Is art a privilege or...
oh, whoa. That's a good question.
I mean, should it be free or should we pay for being able to enjoy it?
Whoa.
It just came to my mind.
I would. That's an interesting point because, of course, I understand that museums have to get some funding, but I think that government could as well, cut down on financing the military.
Oh, yeah.
For example.
Lisdale.
Yes, a good example.
Because I remember, let's say, in the US, more goes. Well, in Russia, I'm pretty sure the same
Oh,
thing.
definitely.
More goes on military than it does on education, medical care, medicine, and art all together.
Yeah. I'm sure that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So
which
why
is a
not?
shame.
Why not take a bit of those expenses and spend them on art and museums? So, but at the same time, I understand that there is like classic art, but about modern artists, I would say that museums might be free, but if you, as an artist, as independent artist, want to have an exhibition, you should have your right, to charge something like a small fee for the entrance. Because let's say I don't think Renoir cares anymore, about whether people pay to see his paintings or not. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, well, it would be wonderful if the British plan is magnificent, just to be able to walk in and say, okay, well, I'm here, I'm a human being, and I'd like to look at some art, and you just walk in. That's lovely.
Also, a lot of famous museums, like museums in London, MoMA, As of MoMA, they make a lot of money on merchandise as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
They make
and
thousands and thousands of dollars every single day on the merchandise. I'm one of those people who actually buys things over there. So, yeah.
Okay.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm not judging you.
But like, what do you buy? Some kind of replica of some paintings?
That depends. So let's say I usually buy postcards and then I sign them right there at the museum. I buy the stamps and send them.
Oh, wow.
Then sometimes if there is a certain... So the thing is that when I'm visiting a museum, if there is a painting that I just love, I try to find some kind of merchandise with it. A postcard, maybe some kind of a replica for the wall, something little. I used to have a little purse, for the coins, which had one of the paintings. Whose painting was it? That's a good question. And then
You could just say anything and we wouldn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true,
Yes,
but I don't want to
because
lie to you. I'm an honest person,
To
Gary.
make it simple. Again, I'm trying to simplify things.
So yeah, and then I have...
Don't make it complicated. Just say some artist. Yeah.
And then a friend of mine, she brought an umbrella to me, which had one of the Japanese gardens by Monet,
Whoa.
and it was
Oh,
brought
wow.
from museum in Los Angeles, the Getty Museum, I think
Oh,
it is.
wow.
So yeah, and I love it so much, and it's now somewhere in the basement in the storage unit in Wellesley.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
Safe place.
Well, yeah, unless rats get to it, but I hope they don't. You know. So, okay, and I have a question about two more styles of paintings, which are surrealism and cubism, because people always, well, not always, but some people confuse them, and I used to do the same thing for a very long time, and thing I still do sometimes. So what's the difference between those two? Surrealism and cubism.
Well, what about Dali?
Dali is
Surrealist.
So that's not
That's the
cubism.
answer.
I mean, it's obvious. So when you look at his paintings,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like,
There's elements that are there, but kind of distorted but in a curious way, not in a consistent like geometry. Cubism does sort of the same thing across the whole image. It's just taking something that might be representational.
So cubism is
somebody with a
geometry.
guitar. Yeah.
It's
So
about
Kandinsky.
shapes. Yeah.
Yeah. Kandinsky.
Yeah.
Picasso. Okay.
Right.
And then surrealism, if it's something weird going on.
Yeah, something like
Right.
some weird, I don't know.
Clock that's
That's
a
melody.
weird
yeah, or-
interconnection of real things and imaginary things that can come to you when you're under something or just in a sleep.
smoking something.
So,
and smoking something for,
yeah, smoking
for several
or
hours. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
yeah.
So what's your favorite style? Maybe not, well, if you have one.
well, I like surrealism and I like Dali's paintings because they have a lot of details, but at the same time, you can see that he can draw. And it's maybe my stereotype, but I just want to understand that an artist can draw that he or she has this mastery. Because sometimes when I look at some pieces of contemporary art, I just can't understand if it is an art form or if it was made by an elephant in the zoo or a child,
Exactly.
like 3-year-old child. So I just want to be able to understand that some effort was put on it and the person has some message to get across.
I understand what you mean.
That's where Picasso's interesting because he's in his representational things, his early period, right? It's obvious that he's just a great artist, just doing normal things like the blue painting that I mentioned. It's quite representational. But then he starts
Experimenting.
experimenting and it becomes
Improvising,
geometrical and it's sort of, it is, but it isn't. It's something else that it's now got all kinds of geometry all over it, but it's still the same thing. It's broken up into parts but it's obvious that he's doing it from a point of mastery. I mean, there's no question.
So we have surrealism as the favorite genre, or favorite style rather.
I even like modern art, even the very
Even the modern one.
Yeah, even the non-representational, strange, very abstract things. I do like that. But of course, I mean, great art is great art. So I can't pick a favorite.
But if you like modern art, why don't you like graffiti, for example?
There is a very thin line, between graffiti being an act of vandalism.
Yeah,
and
consider
modern-
them
That's the
vandalism.
problem. I mean, I've seen some amazing graffiti that is artistic. And in fact, there's where I was in New York City, they're not in Queens. There's some area there that's just totally consciously given to graffiti, and it's completely amazing. I mean, it's just, that's what you're supposed to do there. And
Gary, what
artists do.
years were you living in New York City?
I lived there from 2004 to 2007. Yeah.
Because I don't remember the years, but I remember that at some point there was an artist, a contemporary artist, very popular in New York City, Jean-Michel Basquiat, I think his name is.
Yes.
Was-
Yeah.
So he added to the culture of New York, and he was one of the first people who actually, let's say, started the art scene. But I remember that he left, he died when he was very young, at the age of 27 or something. And I remember also seeing his art, and it was very peculiar, I would say. So I don't think I would be the one to appreciate it, but that's just, again, art is very personal.
Was it museum art, or was it somehow on
It was
walls of
street
buildings?
art. I think it was more of street art and just, some kind of exhibitions or something. So, but yeah. So, okay. So, Natalie, what about you? You have not...
It's really hard for me to answer, I think. So lately I've been doing a little bit of watercolor, and since then I started to appreciate, all these watercolor pieces. So, they're really I'm not sure what style it is actually. It's just watercolor or something like that. So they're really translucent and really light and but basically I think I like all art. But I remember when I was 10 or 12 or something like that, I went to Moscow and I went to the Tretyakov gallery, and there was this piece by Vrubel, The Demon Sitting or something like that. So, and I remember I didn't care about any other art. I don't remember any, but this piece, I just looked at it and I was looking at it for several minutes.
I guess it is romanticism.
I think it's symbolism.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh, look at the experts talking. I just feel so ignorant right now. The name. Okay.
What was the artist's name? Sorry.
Huh?
What was the
Vrubel.
I will Google that.
So there is
there is a whole part in the gallery dedicated to his art.
Exactly. And all the paintings are huge. So for example, this one is 3 or 2 meters big. So yeah, and I remember I was really impressed by that.
You can recognize him by his colors, purple, gray, and
it's really kind of dramatic and melancholic, and really kind of all drama is going on there, a lot.
Aww.
So yeah, and I think actually teenagers and children are the most they feel art much better than adults, I would say, all kinds of art, I think.
I think it might be because children and teenagers tend to be more open.
Yeah, definitely, I think.
So in general, more open to the world,
less
more
busy,
open-minded.
probably. Have less things to do.
That's also true. Yeah. So, and we have all these artists that everybody knows, like Van Gogh, like Dali. So what then, in your opinion, makes artists a famous one? So why do some artists become so famous and the whole world knows them, and some remain unknown?
Ambitions and promotion.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think some of the names you mentioned, they're more modern, right? And so they're more familiar, and we can kind of relate to that. Whereas something Baroque, something with heavy religious themes, and it's just not modern, and it would be.
Oh, by the way, guys, what do you think about medieval art? Have you seen all these pictures? They're so odd.
You mean
really.
You mean
the miniature, medieval
Yeah,
miniatures and everything,
exactly,
with the rabbits and the snails.
Yes, it's so weird.
It reminds me of this group on public
Medieval
on Instagram.
suffering?
Yep.
Remember I mentioned Gary, in our episode about medieval times?
I'm flashing back to that,
But it's funny.
A bit of unintentional advertisement maybe, but there is an Instagram account which is called Ya and Art. So it's YA and Art. And it's an art expert. And by saying expert, I mean that a person majored in art.
Oh, wow.
So she studied at Moscow State University. She now works as an art expert and teacher. And that person, her name's Katya, she's about to have some kind of intensive on medieval art and miniatures. So she's going to give 3 lectures, 1 hour long. Well, each is 1 hour long, where she's going to tell about medieval art and explain all these weird things that we see.
Yeah.
And in general, her profile has so much about medieval times, medieval art, and art in general. So highly recommend, really. So even if you're not interested in art, you're going to be after that, trust me.
Oh, okay,
So,
thank
and
you.
Personal recommendation.
Natalie, what's your idea of medieval art? Why did you ask us?
Because it's so strange and you can't understand what is going on. I mean, it was based on Bible. Yeah.
Well, actually, as far as I know, a lot of sarcasm and irony is hidden
Oh,
there
really?
in these weird pictures, yes.
Oh, wow.
Because they were like criticizing the
course.
church and the government. It was hidden in these pictures.
Because, yeah, I mean, Bible...
Not necessarily, not every painting, but
I mean, the church was everywhere then, and so people just had to kind of in some
it was
subtle
like kind
ways
of,
to fight
secret
it.
communication.
Oh,
You
whoa.
know, when people say, I don't like modern art, I can't understand it. Can you understand medieval art? I'm sorry.
that's
like, have
true.
you seen the Garden of Earthly Delights by Bosch?
Oh my God, I
Yes,
wanted to
I-
speak
There
about
is
that actually
nothing
so much.
to understand.
I like it so much, really. It's
Well,
like
details.
While we're talking about that fine work of art, I actually saw that in person. That's
Whoa.
You have?
It's-
I'd
it's
love
at
to,
the
really.
Prado in Madrid. And believe it or not, I was in high school, or not in college. I was in college. And I actually did go to I went to the store and I bought
oh
a
whoa,
print of that on canvas of that.
4 to 10
of
feet.
all things. No, it was, it's not life size. It's I think it's big. I don't even remember how big it was on the wall, but it was, and that's what I bought, and I hung it in my college room, which tells you a lot about me and
Yeah, it
why I'm
does.
like this. People wonder, how do you get like that? Well,
That's how we got what we got.
that's how you get there.
But you know what's interesting? People look at this painting and other paintings by Bosch.
Bosch.
yeah.
Yeah, because in Russian we would have a different pronunciation of that. So, and they would try to understand it, but he was one of very, very, very few artists of the time who didn't leave anything, not a diary, no notes. He left nothing after him. So
Wow.
that's why the meaning of those paintings is nothing but speculation. So artists and, experts can only speculate about what that really meant. So we are never going to
and
find
there's
the
going to
truth.
be people that are in all different kind of mental states, right? I mean,
Also
you
true,
think
yeah.
of Van Gogh, famous Van Gogh, and some of his Starry Night, and such as that. There's some things that are just a person's in a not different state of.
So maybe that's what
Yeah.
makes people popular. Yeah.
Well, I think
Like
a
a famous
huge
artist.
part of it is luck. Because let's say Van Gogh was never famous when he was alive.
Actually, he was in the end, just a little bit.
How little, like the last week of his life?
Yeah,
2 hours?
He finally got his name in the paper, and
Yeah.
Actually, I googled it. I googled it because I also thought like you. So because I heard a lot that he never became popular. So he was always like really poor and he died like in misery. But actually, he did. He did become famous. So and he didn't really like the fame. So he wrote in like letters to his brother, or something like that, that he like hates it because he was like a real introvert. So he didn't like all these people speculating on his art. And also he said that he really hated pleasing the audience. So yeah, he did art for himself. And then when he became popular, so he had to kind of do it for the audience and he hated it. So yeah.
Interesting. I should look that up.
I
Because
did.
I've never heard about it. I've never heard
Yeah,
about
me
it.
neither.
So,
Until this
but
morning.
yeah, I think there is
yes,
until 50 minutes before the podcast.
right. This lifetime,
Going up in a lift,
lifetime
Googling.
of interest in art, which
Yeah,
reached a
exactly.
peak.
Okay, Google.
Just hours before. Yes, hours
You
before.
sounded so sophisticated.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Like I did my research.
Right. Yeah. I got up an hour early and
Yeah, exactly. That's
started
what it
hitting
was.
Wikipedia, cubism,
That's how
cubism.
modern research looks
Yes,
like.
that's right. And I became an expert almost immediately.
Yes.
Ask me
It didn't
anything.
take more than 1 hour.
Yes,
Yeah.
right, yes.
Whew, yeah. So yeah, but I do believe that a lot of it is luck. So why were some paintings, accepted by the Paris Academy of Art and some weren't? Maybe some paintings didn't even make it there. Maybe some people didn't have money to go to the Academy of Art. It all comes down, very often it all comes down to luck. And actually, since, oh God, what's his name? Because there is a fantastic book. It's a non-fiction book, which is called Key Moments in Art, which describes 50 events in the history of art that somehow affected the whole the whole situation, let's say. And it says one of the points in the book, one of the chapters was about the Paris Academy of Art and how, paintings were getting there, how the whole decision, like all the decisions were made. So yeah, fantastic book, not very long. It's like 200 pages. So really cool. I really recommend it to everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and speaking of understanding / not understanding art, especially modern art, what's your outlook on modern art, by the way?
Shall we define modern?
Oh, you and your definitions.
Let's
Like
define,
how many
wait a minute,
years?
Wait a minute.
How many years ago?
We're getting. Let's define time.
Oh,
Let's start with a short history of time.
you were the one who makes things simpler.
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry. What happened to me? I blew it. Yeah.
It reminds me of a Doctor Who episode. Like, how would you define this thing? Oh, it's a wibbly, wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. So, yeah, that's the best I can give you on how let's define time.
Yeah, well, modern, it's like the 20th century or the 21st.
Yeah, it would be the 20th century, beginning in the 20th. Well, generally, right? Yes.
Yeah, I think 20th, 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
period.
I like. Was a question? What was the question?
What's your outlook on modern?
I like it. It's just the other place that a museum that sort of stands out is, I think I mentioned it, maybe the Whitney, which is American art, which after World War II, New York became the Paris, right? Because Paris was destroyed, right? And Europe was destroyed. And so where else, right? And so there were some movements. Art continued to be experimental and continued to go into new areas all the time. And so you have things like abstract expressionism, which consisted of a guy named Jackson Pollock, and he would literally throw paint at the canvas. You just pick paint up and just throw it at, and
that would cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. The most expensive paint in the world, I guess.
Yeah, and it's very, I mean, it really are amazing works. Just as take them as objects, they're not representing anything there, but just as kind of beautiful things in their own way, chaotic kind of way. They're beautiful. And there's Rothko there too. Rothko was on the list in that same room. And just shapes, and actually at the Ermitages, the Hermitage, right, there's, I think, a Malevich that's just
The
a
black,
dot.
yeah.
Just the
black square as well.
Yeah, which I like too.
It's interesting because when you look...
It's from Bosch, right? From having Bosch hanging in your room for a couple of years in college, yeah.
Yeah, that says a lot about you.
Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons.
What's interesting? So let's say when we look at a lot of paintings that are just, shapes, we see the direction in which the brush was moving. So more or less, as a rule. But one thing that is striking about the black square is that you don't see what direction the brush was moving. So it's just as if it appeared there. So, and art experts, they still don't understand, was Malevich drawing, painting from left to right to left, from top to bottom. So no, it's just so even. So nice, and then of course there are some theories of what that might have meant and whatnot. So yeah, wait, Natalie and Maria, modern art.
Yes.
I mean, it depends on the name. It depends on who it was. For example, I don't think that I understand or appreciate Malevich's art pieces. Well, maybe I need to do some research and know more about the background, the history behind it. That's what.
I'm trying to think of the style that Malevich worked in because it has a certain name.
Not cubism?
No.
No.
Oh.
But that book that I told you about, it has a chapter about it. So when you think of modern art, so what names come to mind? So Gary mentioned Rothko, Pollock,
Andy Warhol.
Warhol.
Andy Warhol, yeah.
Marc Chagall.
Oh, yeah.
Chagall.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he has a very interesting life story, I would say. I mean, Chagall in general, his biography is very, very interesting. So check this out. His love story. Oh, so great. So great. I think one name that comes to my mind is Jeff Koons. Have you seen those like balloon dogs, but they're not balloon because they're like 10 meters tall?
Yeah.
So that's him.
Yeah, for some reason I missed that.
So, and if you know these balloon dogs and different balloon creatures, but they're not of balloons, they just look as if they are made of some. So if they are something, interesting, it looks peculiar, but, fun, especially when they are of bright colors. He has some very scandalous pieces as well. So very scandalous ones. So, and that's why I have very mixed feelings about him. But he's the only modern artist, the only modern creator who has a whole factory to produce his pieces and to produce his works.
Why?
Because they are so big in size and they're made of metal and different materials. So it's just impossible to do that alone. So, and that's why he even got a factory to
That's
be
so
produce.
weird.
Well, he's getting a lot of money for it.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I think doesn't he have the record now still, or he did for the most expensive,
Might be.
highest price tag sale. I think he did. Yeah, it was outrageous. I think it's $200 million or something. It was really preposterous.
A lot of zeros, yeah.
A lot of zeros, yeah.
So,
Like scary.
Yeah. And is there a painting or a work of a certain artist that you really want to see with your own eyes?
I mean, now it's not so much difference. You can see it on the screen anywhere.
But that's why I said with your own eyes.
But I mean, what's the difference?
You're putting the whole existence of museums, on the question.
I know.
yeah, right.
It's like, why do we need museums?
Yeah,
when Masha asked, like, should they be free or not free? You like,
They shouldn't
who
exist
needs
at all.
them? Who needs them?
Well, it's because of the atmosphere. It's like live music and recorded music. The same here.
Yeah, and our the works are made to be viewed by somebody in front of the picture.
It also depends on the style because some paintings are supposed to be looked like from the distance or from a closer perspective.
I mean,
Or
you can put it on your screen and just go a bit further or a bit closer.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure it works like this.
Yeah, I'm going to stand here in the hallway and look at this. And в коридоре. Вид с коридора.
I have my hermitage in my corridor.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
So, well, now you can say, what were you doing at the weekend? You're like, I visited, the
All the
Louvre.
best
I'm like,
museums.
the Louvre. And you're like, I took a Google 3D tour. Online tour, museum. Okay, so I guess nobody has anything they want to see.
I mean, if you really put, some meaning into that. So I want to go to Louvre and see Mona Lisa, or something like that. So it's not about actually seeing the picture. I think it's about the museum, the place, the city, so all of it. But other than that, I don't know, really.
Okay.
I think I have something, but just nothing comes to my mind right now. I'm bad at remembering names and titles. That's my problem. I should have created a list.
So, Kate, what about you? Would you like to see some?
Well,
particular-
I think I in general love to see the original works. And I remember how shocked I was when I first came to a museum and realized that this is not a replica. This is not just a picture of a picture, but, a real thing. So, and I remember when I was looking at, let's say, Van Gogh's paintings, you could see the brush strokes, because it was oil paint. So, it dries the way you put it. So I was like, this is wow.
So he made it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the whole realization of that is like, whoa. I think I want to see more of Monet, just because, he has different series of paintings. So for example, when he was living in London, he would come to the Embankment every single day and paint the Parliament, the building of the Parliament. So, and that's why he has about 70 different paintings.
Oh, wow.
Of different weather, different color scheme. I love that. I love Monet. And then for some reason, I think it's more like, of a quest maybe. I want to see more of Degas. But
There's a Degas in that room, a beautiful Degas in that same famous, where there's Picasso with the blue and all that, there's a Degas.
But I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I don't want to see the paintings. I want to see the ballerina, the sculpture.
Oh, wow.
That's it. I've just jumped to the subtopic because I remember I visited a museum in Philadelphia and I saw this 14-year-old ballerina, which is a sculpture. And I thought, oh, it looks so lovely and detailed. And there is a real tutu. Like, okay, the sculpture is it seems to be made of metal, but there is a real tutu, like the fabric. So, okay, I thought about that and then of course, forgot about that. Then I went to Chicago and I went to a museum there.
Did you go to the Art Institute of Chicago? Okay.
And there it was, a 14-year-old ballerina by Degas. I was like, wait a second. So maybe it was moved from Philadelphia, which I visited in September, to Chicago in May. But guess what? Then I went to Boston Museum and there it was. I'm like, wait, there is something. Am I going crazy? Is there a glitch in reality?
Are you sure you're not losing it? Yeah. Now
I was not sure I was not losing
it. This is known as a
it.
problem with the viewer. Right.
So, but then I found out that there are more than, I think about 50 or like 30 something of these 14-year-old ballerinas all over the world.
Made by him.
Yeah, you can cast, right? They're cast.
So the thing is that, so there was one initial one that he made, but he made it out of wax. And of course, this is not a durable material. So, and he had different, cast for that. And when he died, people found a lot of them in the studio. So they decided to make them and cover them with metal.
Oh.
And that's why
they're all wax covered with metal.
I'm not sure about if there is wax inside now because I don't remember the details. But yeah, they covered it with another material. So, and I don't know what happened with the wax. But yeah, and that's why there is now not one 14-year-old ballerina by Degas, but quite many in different countries. So and I want to see some more of them. And I think it's not about, finding the difference, but just for the sake of seeing them, because why not have a little bit of a side quest, to life. So yeah. Well, since I've touched upon this, so what about sculptures? So what do you think about sculptures?
I don't know, really. It's like, and paintings are so much easier to understand, probably, I guess. And it's so much easier to make, probably, I guess.
Well, it takes less place, to say the least, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I will sound stupid, but for me, sculpture is something that belongs to a garden.
Oh.
Or, I mean, in
Like
a
a
good
garden
way,
gnome.
not like my grandmother's garden, but like, Petterhof's garden or something like this, which is like outside. It looks
For the birds
good.
to enjoy.
It fits and it belongs there. So, like among the trees, among like beside the fountain or inside the fountain, something like this.
Because
But
you need space for that. I
it
think.
needs space, yes,
Yeah, well,
and it needs
sculpture in general,
surroundings.
right? That's like for your famous sitting at home and looking at it. It's paintings you can do through the internet pretty well, but sculpture is more difficult. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think, looking at it on a screen does not give it, enough credit.
No,
Because let's say,
it doesn't.
when I saw the picture of David by Michelangelo, I thought, yeah, okay, it looks nice. It's so detailed, fantastic. Until I read that it's 5 meters. And then I thought, wait a second. And it was just difficult for me to even imagine it afterwards. And I thought, wow, I need to see it one day in my life. Because it's such a monumental work then. So how? What? Wow. So, and I think this is not something that just a picture of it on the internet can do.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Shock.
Right. You have to be able to walk around it.
The same
and it's got a
with
spatial-
all those, sculptures made of marble. You look at them and you think, how could that be made out of just one, big stone?
Exactly. You don't have, right to make a mistake there. So if you make a mistake, so it's all ruined. So you can't erase it,
Exactly, can't cover it.
Yeah.
And you know how they have this effect of like flowing
Yeah, like a
fabric?
veil or something. Yeah.
God, it's just so impressive.
Yeah.
But why do you think paintings tend to be more popular than sculptures? So people know paintings, but we don't know much about sculptures. We might name a few that are, the most famous ones, but
Well, I think that it's easier to find an image, the satisfying image of a painting, and feel like you've sort of experienced that to some degree, right? Whereas a sculpture, without the space dimension and being able to walk around it, and it's just it doesn't come across as well. You lose what makes it effective, right?
So, what materials can sculptures be made of? So, what did they used to be made of, and what about now? What do you think?
So bronze, different metals like I don't know, gold, silver, clay, plaster. I don't know.
Marble, right?
I
Marble,
think
yeah,
marble
of
was
course.
the classic one,
Yeah.
the most impressive one.
probably.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah. I have well, I know a person. I can't call her a friend. Just I know a person. She's a sculptress, and sometimes she sends a picture like, "Look what I made," and you're like, "Great! Wow, what is it? What's the
Yeah.
idea behind it?" And she just welds types, certain pieces of metal, like connects them with,
Oh, whoa.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she's a welder,
Oh,
welder sculptress.
that's kind of cool, I think.
Yeah. Also,
Could
all the
be,
pieces
yeah.
look kind of creepy, but well. So yeah,
Maybe she puts her energy into it. Like
of course she does. That's what artists do.
maybe
Yeah.
even negative energy, and it helps.
Let me weld it.
Yep, everything out of it.
Yes.
So
Out of that nasty psyche comes this nasty work of art.
That's how it works, I think. Yeah. Probably.
well, you can do that, in that type of sculpture. You can't really do that with marble.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, it's totally different emotions that can be put into there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that can be a good way, to deal with the stress
To
and,
vent,
and
yeah,
and
somehow.
annoyance and anger. The welding.
All those things you associate with art. Yes, right. Yes.
That's exactly what you think of when you think of art.
Anger. Right.
Oh, yeah.
He was releasing his anger, obviously.
Yes, right. Yes. He was having a bad day, a bad month.
Malevich had a bad day.
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
But here, maybe.
And Pollock had a lot of them, I guess. With the...
I think a lot of artists have bad taste.
We all do.
Part of being an artist,
Yeah. All righty. All righty.
Lots of bad days.
Well, thank you very much for this conversation.
On that Philistine note, right, just wait for it.
A little wisdom from, piece of advice, wisdom from Gary the Wise.
Right,
Find ways to release your anger.
Yeah,
Right.
through art. Yeah,
Or
especially.
through welding.
Through
yeah.
welding and then
Yeah.
sell it as a piece
Все
of art.
сварщики.
Sounds like a business plan,
Все сварщики.
You're welcome for the idea. Right. All right. Well, that was the Big Apple School podcast, and today we discussed art. And to be more specific, we talked about paintings mostly, and just a little bit about sculptures. Just the way it is usually done in the artistic world, I guess. So,
Yes, of course we did it that way. The classic way.
classic way.
Right.
Well, thank you for listening. And remember, if you struggle to understand our conversation, you are always welcome to our website, which is bigappleschool.com/podcast. You can find full scripts of each episode there. Just make sure to play the podcast and then click on the show script button. And it will be very, very interactive and easy to follow. And if you want to get more content which will help you learn English, you can follow us on any social media, be that Instagram, Telegram, VK. We are everywhere. Just search our name, which is Big Apple School. So that was Katja, and my guests for today were
Gary?
Natalie?
Maria.
Stay tuned, and we'll see you around.